and bring in 5,000 troops in one hour.
So that doesn't count MI8s, MI17s, MI35s, or even paratroopers jumping out of the back of IL-76s. They can literally put 20, 30,000 men on the ground in an hour,
Right.
and there's really nothing that NATO can do about it. So, and again,
You can actually see we're on the Polish side, right?
yeah.
I can't tell. Okay, yeah, I see.
You can see the line up there on the map in the upper left-hand corner.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
And this is how I was saying they would come across. Remember I told you they were going to take a little bit of it? This is part of Lenshenko's plan right here.
Right.
This is what was on the map and what his colonel said they were going to do.
Right.
And I'm just having a little fun.
Well, one thing to note here in this area, you can see though how there are a lot of little streams mixed in and forested areas, and some of these areas are low-lying. Potentially, I don't know. Looking at how Russia handled Ukraine, we know that sometimes they have a tendency of making mistakes when they do invasions. You know how they have all these great plans, and then sometimes they fail, like when they tried to encircle Kyiv and stuff like that. And but certainly Belarus and Russia, they know how to handle swampy terrain. But potentially some of these areas here could function as choke points and slow down the Russians a little bit in some of these areas. But as a whole, they're definitely going to have wide open terrain to move through. That there's no NATO forces to really slow them down here.
Yeah, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
The best thing at 3 in the morning. That's right. I mean, the best thing that they can hope for is they get stuck in some of these swampy areas, and then they can hit them with artillery. But
right.
That would be kind of more on the optimistic side. That's assuming that things fail with their plan.
But see, if you've got, and keep in mind, they would have an assault force coming from the other side and this side.
Exactly.
And
they
so
meet in the middle.
Interstate at the other side that we were talking about, it would have already been seized by now, because it's much closer to the other side than it is here. And I got power out there.
And also the S-400s that you just showed would provide air cover for this whole area. So
there's all kinds of S-400s. There's over 1,000 S-400 missiles in total.
And those S-400s could cover most of Poland too.
Absolutely, it's 400 kilometers.
Yeah, so you're talking, half of Poland could be under S-400 coverage.
Well, actually more than that, because you've got also the S-400s on the southern side of Kaliningrad, which we should fly that too.
Right.
Once Steve finishes the maps for over there. But see, the pilot, if they've studied this, they can do just like I am and just fly up through these clearings like this. Hop over a couple tree lines.
Been studying
here and there, yeah.
Right.
They can study it and fly right up through here just like I am.
Well, Russia's been militarizing this area for 15 years. I mean, going all the way back to Medvedev times. 2009, 2010. Actually, I think it was 2009 when the first news came out that Russia moved nuclear-tipped ice scanners to Kaliningrad. So,
and they're moving fighters there now.
Right.
We've been watching that day after day after day of moving fighters and bombers, and then moving all the bombers over into the western part of Russia.
Right.
I was showing you that on the map earlier. Steve is making those maps for us now, folks. So as soon as we get those loaded in, we're going to show you those. We got a lot to show you. There's a lot going on. And we also just got all of the maps of all of the military bases in Ukraine. So we can show you the ones in Ukraine and Crimea. The only thing I don't like about YouTube is well, not the only thing, but one of the things is I can't be playing music right now. Normally I am, but
right.
you would get a copyright strike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The music's definitely. Thanks for not doing that. Yeah.
But you can see, it wouldn't be hard for the Russians to scoot right across here just like this. Now, just keep in mind, an Mi-35 does not have the handling characteristics of, this D-530. But I have done this with an Mi-35. It's not as much fun, but we could fly this again sometime that way.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I actually did it. I actually did a nighttime flight showing how the Russian lights are for following the leader, with the red light on the top on the back of the boom. So you can't see it from below or in front. You can only see it from behind and above.
Mm-hmm.
So the leader flies nap of the earth and everybody, goes wingman out on him. And they all come across at once at about 100 knots. I wouldn't want to go much over 100 knots across this terrain with an Mi-35. They're lead sleds. They're not very maneuverable, and they're good as long as they're going in a straight line and not doing a lot of climbing and bobbing and weaving.
Basically like a flying brick.
Yes. Okay, and see, we are coming up on our first assault point. So if we had a group of Mi-35s coming with us here, we would take those Mi-35s and we would assault these points. We would work our way south below bridges. We would have Mi-8s or Mi-17s or even an Mi-26 flying with us, and they could drop troops at that location and hold those areas until additional reinforcements showed up. And again, this would be taking place at 3 o'clock in the morning, so there is plenty of time for the supporting troops to get there before the Estonians, NATO, or anybody else could respond.
Yep. Yeah, just so people know, the Baltic countries don't even have an air force. They don't even have, I don't even know if they have tanks.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they do. I think they got armored personnel carriers just about as big as they get.
Some mortars. They have like mortars and stuff, but mostly just infantry. So.
And so like I said, the attack point on the other side of this mission would have already been secured before we even get to this one. So as long as you stay down here in nap of the earth, it makes it really hard for anybody with a shoulder-fired missile to hit you. Because first you got to have time to lock, and then you got to stay clear of any obstructions long enough for the missile to catch up with you. So, if somebody locked on you from back there now, and then you dove down like this behind the tree line, well, guess what? Most likely the missile's going to lose you.
Okay.
So if it ain't got a good lock on you and you're not high enough, once you can get an obstruction between you and it, or like, say somebody's firing a missile from back there now, and I get up to this building here and I duck to the left and come around the back side of the building right here, well, the building's going to get in between it, and if I can stay low and come down over here, that missile is going to go over there and land in somebody's field.
Right, and eventually, if you can outrange the missile too, right?
Correct.
Those missiles have a limited.
Yeah,
how far
very
do they
limited
go?
range. But if you can shake it by staying, nap of the earth and flying like this, they got a real hard time locking onto you. And we are at our first objective. So we're going to climb up here and get some altitude and have a look-see. And right down here is our first border crossing. So that's all they got to do is take this first border crossing right here. that'll stop NATO troops or anything else from coming up in this area. Right here. So that's the first one. Not hard to do, huh?
Nope.
Now we can back around here and go for our next one. Oh, wow, dude. That's not the first checkpoint. We just flew the whole Sawalski Gap.
That was pretty fast.
Well, it's only 40 miles.
That was fast.
Yeah,
Wow. I mean,
that's it.
So
That's all the longer it takes to fly all the way across it.
That's insane. So if we were an attack helicopter, we just crossed the whole thing.
The whole gap. Because it's only 40 miles.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's totally insane.
Yep. That's it. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, that's the arrival. That's the whole trip. We're in Kaliningrad right now.
Was that like 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Not even that. Well, we're doing 140 knots and it's only 50 miles. So 20
Right.
minutes, yeah. So this is Poland. That over there is Lithuania. So what I'll do now is I'll come down here and land. And I'm going to show you guys what we're concerned about with the buildup of Russian troops over next to the Baltics. And I'll show you guys. So we can escape here. Go back here to our main menu. And we will jump over into Russia. So there's the city of Kaliningrad. There's Vilnius, Minsk. Let's go back here to get it at noon. And then let me go to my other map here. And so if we come over here, what we're going to do is there's also a base here. This is where they are moving all the cargo aircraft in right next to the border. So they can just fly the stuff right across and fly it in. That's right up against the border with Estonia right there. And then if we go here further to the north up here, we can, that's not the one. I want to get the one right next to the bomber base. This was quite concerning to us. These are all of the bombers that the Russians have been moving into the area. And Steve has loaded all of this into the flight server software for us. And so basically what it amounts to is he has taken all of the satellite imagery that we have and all of the other sources of imagery, and I'm not going to go into detail on what those are, but he has come in and created a 3D map of all of the bombers that the Russians have moved into this airbase. And if you look back at the historic imagery, they had 5, 10 aircraft here That was about it. Now there's 40. And the crazy part about it is a lot of these are bombers. And the bombers that are here, a lot of them are the Marine variant, which means they're designed to attack ships.
Approach
like
Alpha Romeo Mike
out in
Yankee
the
is
Baltic.
type 2 miles south of Uniform Oscar Lima Echo, 2,200
Another
feet.
thing about
Request flight following.
ships in the Baltic is Russia just recently did some exercises with their anti-ship missiles in
Squawk 1171
Kaliningrad and
Romeo Mike
the
Yankee.
base there in Baltisk, I think it is. So they have anti-ship missiles in Kaliningrad as well that they can use to hit any NATO ships that try to come in to reinforce the Baltics, or if there's any cargo ships with tanks that try to come into the port in Lithuania and Klaipėda, they could try to sink them. And not to mention electronic warfare that they have in Kaliningrad and you know, close to the Baltics, they could use to make basically a nightmare for any pilots, NATO pilots or ships that, you know, mess with GPS and everything else.
So these are the Russian Bear bombers. These are the ones that have turboprop counter-rotating props. These are the ones that drop a lot of the missiles and bombs on Ukraine. Over here is a departing IL-76. It's not parked there. That's just where, when the satellite flew over, it captured the aircraft there. So we put it exactly where it is. Here's a SAR bomb right next to that.
Oh,
Bear.
wow.
Here's a
That's
supersonic.
insane.
Here's a supersonic bomber. Here's another Bear bomber. Here's another IL-76. And then you get down here to these supersonic bombers here. Now this is a standard supersonic bomber. You see how it's gray right there? But it's got a white belly. That means it's a Marine variant. So it's designed to attack ships. This is an Mi-8. You can see how the tarmac here kind of drops off there. Looks like you're kind of getting ready to roll downhill. Well, you are. This air base is not on level terrain. And so they just paved over it with these concrete blocks. And this is how they do it in Russia. It's not smooth at all. But here are more of these bombers with the white bellies, telling us that they are Marine variant. There's a gray one here. That's not. It's a standard attack drone. More fuel tanks, more Mi-8s and Mi-17s. Coming down here, we've got some more Antonov cargo aircraft that are here along the sides of the tarmac. Another Bear bomber, and more of these supersonic bombers. And of course, there's a Bear coming back in right there. Now, so what they've done is they've got a ton of these attack bombers like you're seeing right here that they have moved in over here. In fact, they have more aircraft than they have space for. So they're parking them in these revetments here. That's what these mounds of dirt with grass growing up on them are. That's so is that if one aircraft is hit by a bomb and it explodes, that explosion won't hurt the aircraft that is sitting next to it. And so the aircraft are level. That's why you should see the front wheels off the ground. That shows you how steep the ground is here. We don't contour the aircraft to the ground. Normally tarmacs are level, but, well, this is Russia, so not necessarily. So again, you have more of these supersonic bombers here. Again, the Marine variant. And the things are stacked up here like cordwood. They're all over the place. Like I said, there's over 50 bombers just at this one location. So things are, how should we say, getting a little spicy to be moving 50 bombers this close to the Baltics. And these are what would be used to attack NATO ships, any other ships that are operating out in the Baltics. And, you know, they're planning on something pretty spicy because, well, look how many of them they've got here. It ain't a couple of them, folks. It's a bunch of them. They remain.
Super close to Estonia.
Yes. Right up against Estonia, less than 100 miles.
As far as I know, NATO doesn't have any anti-air in the Baltics at all. The closest anti-air would be Poland. They have the Patriot systems, and then they have the ballistic missile defense in northern Poland. But as far as just like standard anti-air missile systems, they have zero in the Baltics. So these bombers, these jets you're showing, I mean, they would just fly completely unopposed, unless NATO were to scramble jets.
Well, they've got fighter
Poland.
jets just 12 miles down the road here.
Right.
And we're going to jump over to those rather than fly down there. We're just going to teleport here real quickly. We're going to go down there and we're going to show you those.
They would basically have free reign over the Baltic countries.
Pretty much. So we're going to jump out real quick and then we'll jump back in. So this is where we are now. Now, just to give you an idea of how close it is, this is the airfield we're at now. This is the airfield that we're going to. So we'll just jump right into there. I may have to change the time of day when I spawn here, but you guys are going to be shocked when you see this. Because not only are there fighters at this base, there are also additional supersonic bombers. So now we're getting up close to 75 bombers. Why do you need 75 bombers on the border?
It's
At
crazy.
1,000 missiles.
Approach Alpha Romeo Mike Yankee is type 3 miles northeast of Uniform Mike Oscar Echo, 2,100 feet. Request flight following.
Alpha Romeo Mike Yankee approach. Squawk 6677.
Squawk 6677 Romeo Mike Yankee.
Romeo Mike Yankee radar contact 3 miles northeast of Uniform Mike Oscar Echo 1,500 feet. Altimeter 29.902.
Roger Romeo Mike Yankee.
Well, it said I was 3 miles northwest. Let's see it. An airfield. Thought I spawned in closer. There we go. So this is the air base that is a little concerning because these guys are not only supersonic bombers, but they've got MiG-29s in here too. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly the length of the runway here, and we're going to come in from the bomber section down here. And we're going to come back and we're going to show you the electronics, so on and so forth, that have been installed here, especially this little truck right here that we're getting a little buzz. This guy here, I'm just going to watch out for this tower next to it. Smack it. But we're going to come back and talk about that truck here. But they've got multiple radar sites here, different types of radar. They've got a collection of bombs. There is a facility not too far from here that has nuclear warheads. So if they want nuclear bombs, they can have some of those that are just right up the road. So it's not a good thing for what we're seeing. So what the Russians do, and other countries are now doing, is they build these bunkers out of concrete, reinforced concrete, and then they cover them with dirt. And then after they cover them with dirt, they let grass grow on them. The problem is because it's concrete underneath of it, the moisture doesn't seep down through the ground. So the grass on top of the bunkers is always greener, so it makes them easy to spot. So here you have these two-seat bombers. These are 27s, and they've got all kinds of bombers setting here. Now, from our understanding, the bunkers are full. They're not in the depiction here, but they will be very shortly. And the ones setting out here on the tarmac are extras. What I wanted to show you here was we've got motor pools, and they keep bringing in more equipment, and then they've got multiple fuel storage spots at this facility. And there's a lot more trucks here now than what you're seeing. There's over 50 trucks already here at this one site. So come around here and get back up here towards our big 29s. Show you those. This is more of the big 29s there. More bombers here. They've got more aircraft parked around here to the sides. And again, if you see aircraft that are on the taxiways, like you see the ones here in front of us, well, that's because in the satellite imagery, the reconnaissance imagery, the other means of surveillance imagery, this is where these aircraft are in those images. So our goal is to depict exactly what is there and represent it to you as closely as we can to exactly what is there. So we have another MI8 helicopter down here. More trucks up here. MI8. More trucks here. By the way, both of these parked are much further than you get up here, fighter jets. So that was the bomber section. We got, this is where they can reload the aircraft, more fuel. And there's 5 different fueling facilities in this one base. So if one set of fuel tanks gets hit, that's okay, they got 4. And there's a railroad track that's going, so they can actually bring trains in full of fuel and get jet fuel out of those. Now the interesting thing here is, you know, folks from the CIA want to say that the reason that the Palestinians attacked on October 7th was because that was the date that George Bush announced the attack against Afghanistan. I disagree. I think the attack on Israel on October the 8th was because 1 week before October the 8th, Putin gave the Palestinians $100 million. Interesting. You also note that there are ultralights setting right here. Gee, didn't the Palestinians use those on October 8th? And oh, by the way, the most important thing about October 8th is that's Putin's birthday. Interesting how that works out, huh?
Yeah, many people believe that was like an offering, like a sacrifice by the Hamas, you know?
Yeah, well, see, what a lot of people don't realize is the KGB is who created the PLA in the first place. The PLO, the Palestinian Movement, Yasser Arafat, all of that was created by the KGB and funded by the KGB. Has been for basically half a century now.
Makes sense, makes sense.
And then Putin gives them another $100 million just days before they attack.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to me too.
It's funny how it all backfired though, because now
Yep.
Hamas has been decimated, Hezbollah has been decimated, and now Syria has been decimated.
Yeah.
And now now the Russians are leaving with their tail tucked under their legs.
Yeah,
panicking.
and they didn't fly. So we track all the flights, and they didn't fly their equipment back to Russia. They flew them to Iran.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yep. So this base has some pretty sophisticated electronics. I'm gonna do a quick cover of that, but
It's a
We've got
very
a-
long runway.
yeah, well, heavy
Definitely for
bombers.
fully loaded bombers.
Yep. So if you're gonna have a base like this, you need to have some electronic warfare capability. So they've got 2 radar systems, a long-range radar, a short-range radar, and then a weather radar. And then they have a radio direction finding system, which is what we're coming up on right here. This is 8 antennas on a pole, and they can get very, very accurate direction finding from just the antenna by itself through a technology called TDOA, and that stands for Time Difference on Arrival. That means that the incoming signal will hit the antennas closest to the transmitter first, and then it will hit the other antennas. And the computer calculates the timing difference between hitting the antennas that are closest from the antennas that are hitting farthest away, and they get down to less than a degree of accuracy. Well, if you put 2 of these antennas together and they're at 2 different altitudes, you can get distance, direction, and altitude off of the antenna on that pole, the antenna on this pole, and then this black thing right here on top of that pole, right in front of us right there, that's called a discone. Miniature discone. It's about 30 grand. So it monitors all the frequencies into a spectrum analyzer, and anytime it picks up anything, software loads it into the radio direction finding, and it starts tracking it and giving you a longitude, latitude, distance, and bearing from you. Now over here, this is the long-range radar. Now we can tell that this is a long-range radar because of the size of the barbecue grill. That's that big mesh thing sitting on top of the trailer right there. And so the farther away you want to go, the bigger that needs to be. So that big barbecue grill gives you the direction to the target, and then this radar over here that rocks back and forth, it gives you the elevation of the target. Then over here we have 2 more radars. So we have the radar on the left, which is a weather radar, and then we have the 2 radars on the right, which are tactical tracking radars for like fast movers, jets, and things of that nature. So the radar over there looks for targets a long ways away, and this here looks for stuff in the immediate area. And then over here, you have the additional bunkers for weapons and things of that nature. So this is what we're putting together, folks. This is what we're going to keep doing. Steve has been working diligently all day to put together some more maps for us, and we're going to be showing those off to you here in the very near future. Again, yet another motor pool over here. This is for weapons and bombs, things of that nature. Anything you want to add here, Greg? Questions?
Not really.
I can't fly and read the chat at the same time, so. They don't have tanks here. No, this is an airfield. No, there's lots of places where they have uh, uh, tanks and stuff, but this is airfields here.
One person asked, couldn't we come up behind them through Ukraine and Belarus? I would say no.
Yeah, that'd be kind of hard to do. And how could we do that? We're a defensive organization. NATO is. So you can't go on the offense. And when you look at the map here, and I'll do that here. I don't normally share this with the public, but we'll do it for you. Um, when you look at all of the airfields, so that's where we were. This is the last one we just left. But when you look at all of the locations that they have, I mean, these are all the air bases, the military installations, so on and so forth. And this doesn't even include what's in Belarus. Belarus is also full of military bases. And then this is over in Kaliningrad. So when you start looking at all the different missile launchers, more missile launchers, more missile launchers, when you start looking at all of the different sites and all of the different equipment that's in the area, you know, here's another missile launcher site. There's another missile launcher site. You know, here's bombs, another missile launcher site. And some of these facilities, we've been watching this facility here be built for a long time. Hell, they're almost done with it. We started watching this building when we started watching this facility when this building they hadn't even broke ground on it. And now it's almost done. They even got the roof on it. The last time we flew this, it didn't even have the roof. So they've made a lot of advancements. And all of these, just to give you an idea of how big each one of these bunkers is. See those bunkers there? Look over here. Those are S-400 missile launchers. Imagine how many can be parked in each one of these buildings. That's just
I wonder if they keep the eye scanners there too.
no. The eye scanners are at a different facility. We have that facility.
And they have nuclear warheads in Kaliningrad too.
Yes. Yep.
They have nuclear warheads for the eye scanners and I don't know what other systems.
They also have nuclear warheads for the air-launched scanners, and they have the RS-27 intercontinental ballistic missile.
Right.
So, not a good thing. And they're getting ready for war, folks. They continue to move equipment in. They've got bombers moving in, so they got more fighters moving in. You know, and they put the fighters out here. You see how they're zigzagged like this on the airfield? That's to keep them as far apart as they can because they've got them stacked up thick in here. Look at all of them. You know, and all of the revetments and bunkers are full. So that's the only reason you leave aircraft out.
You don't want one missile to hit and destroy a whole bunch, so they spread them out.
Right. So they stick them underground, and when you don't have room for them underground, you put them out on the runway like we're seeing right here. And wow, they really are stacking them up in here. There's more in here than since the last time we flew. Oh, Steve's got more work. Oh, that's a new fuel storage facility there. Look at that shit.
Big.
Yeah. This is a normal fuel storage area. Yeah, getting crazier by the day. Oh, wow, they even got fighters sitting down here. Oh, I think that's a museum in there. That's new. That was not there before.
I don't think that's a museum. I don't know. Maybe.
No, it's just along the road coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was not there before. We've flown this numerous times. That's new. Yeah, this is getting crazy, folks. Get crazier by the day. Oh, wow, look at all the concrete trucks.
Excavating in totally new areas there.
Yep, they're not done. Spending a lot of money here. Whole lot of money. Actually, they're spending billions of dollars. What we've seen so far.
Seems like this is one of their main priorities, this area, based on all the bases you just showed us, all the S400 sites, all the equipment here. Seems like it might be one of their top
Yes, this one
top
is. This one
spending.
is absolutely. We've been watching this one for the last 6 months. And look over here at all the stockpiles. See, that's an underground bunker right there.
What are those containers? What are those?
These are fuel tanks.
Okay.
So the way the Russians do it is they don't like big tanks. They'll have big tanks like you see over here, but they like a bunch of small ones. That way, if a bomb comes and it punctures 5 or 6 of them, so what? The rest of them aren't hurt.
Right.
These are also small enough that you can shove them up in a back of an IL-76 and bring them out and just bolt them together, pipe on pipe on pipe, and just keep adding to them. Where things
Right.
like this either have to be built on site or trucked in. And also, if you hit that low with a round, then that entire tank is going to empty out. Whereas that if you hit this low, well, you might take a few tanks, but the vast majority are going to be fine. And you know that they're planning on bringing a lot of fuel in and out of here because they've got a railroad head right here. So they got big plans for Kaliningrad. And when you start looking at all of the different storage facilities, here's where they got their nuclear weapons site right here. They got nuclear weapons stored underground. Another bunker. And then they have these Sherwood forests. So here's another uh, missile site. Now you were talking about the Iskanders.
Yep.
So what they'll do is they'll put Iskanders in these little buildings right here. And then they'll have
Mm-hmm.
extra missiles out here like this.
Right.
And the Iskanders just roll out of the building, elevate, fire, and then drop down the launcher and back into the building again.
Okay.
And they've got a lot of sites like that. Now this is underground bunkers. See right here, bunker, bunker, bunker. This is all stuff underground here. Got the same thing over here. And then they can just pull right out, take the stuff wherever they want to go. And then there's other sites like these. See this one here? So the missile launcher is inside. So this probably holds 2 or 3 missile launchers, and they can pull out right here, fire, and then right back into the building.
Yeah, tons of places to hide. They can disperse
Yep.
them anywhere. Shoot and move, basically.
Yeah, or just pull right back into the building and wait for another missile to be delivered to them to load onto it. Or if they've got a truck inside that already has missiles on it, they can reload the damn thing inside the building and then pull back out and fire again. So a lot going on over here. And then over here, when you get to the air bases over here, they got missile launchers on one end of the base, as you can see right here. So S-400 missile launchers, command and control, radar. So these guys are up. They're ready to fire a missile right now or coordinate with another base. Again, you got more fighters moved in. And the bunkers. Actually, they've moved several more fighters. And then when you get down here to the south end of the southwest end of the runway, well, you get yourself another S-400 base, just right here. So they're getting lined up and prepared. They've got over 1,000 S-400 missiles here. Tally, they could go any day. I mean, they're already moving additional fighters into Kaliningrad. And so the simple fact that they're already moving fighters into Kaliningrad from St. Petersburg, and they're doing it every day, tells me they're getting a lot closer. Plus the fact that they've got so many fighters over here that all of the bunkers are full, and now they're lining up the fighters on the sides of the runway and on the sides of the tarmac. So yeah, very concerning. Very, very concerning.
Yeah, they're militarizing Kaliningrad more than the areas of Russia close to Ukraine.
Right.
I mean, there's more missiles, more S-400s, more everything here than there is even in the border with Ukraine, which, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing in Belarus, spending billions in Belarus.
And there's no Patriot missiles like in Poland has some Patriot missiles, but they're mostly around Warsaw. So there's nothing in like northern Poland that would be able to intercept a lot of these Iskanders or fighter jets, you know.
Right.
So and NATO refuses to send any kind of help up there. I mean, they didn't even want to send a Patriot missile system to Poland to protect the airport where all the Ukrainian weapons are coming in. If you recall, Germany, the U.S. and the U.K. had Patriot missiles set up over there in like the first year of the war, but then they took them away, saying, "Oh, we don't need them there anymore." You know, there's no threat.
Right.
So yeah. Bottom line is NATO's not going to be in any kind of a hurry, regardless of what they say. That oh yeah, it's a military alliance and we're going to protect every inch of territory. That's more just basically BS talk to make people feel good. But the reality is that that NATO's not going to rush in there overnight with 20, 50, 100,000 troops. It doesn't work that way. They have to come up with a consensus on